Hey guys, spoke yesterday on the passing of General Colin Powell, passed of COVID. He was 82. He had a blood cancer as well that contributed to his death, even though he was vaccinated. And I talked about how conservatives pimped his death. That they used his death to just spread confusion, and how Trump disrespected Colin Powell's passing as well. Let me say this. I was a conservative, not a Republican. I was conservative at my young age. And black conservatives are pimped. They're pimped. A black man that's a conservative. Let me be clear, too, because I don't think black conservatism is the same as white conservatism. I think black conservatism is really more of the culture war. You have a lot of homophobia in the black community. You have a lot of different opinions, and that whole notion that China's taking our jobs, a lot of folks believe that. I talked about it here before that that's nonsense. No one's took your job. It's just they can do sweatshop labor over there. And over here, we're trying to move into a better society. We want to have care for people who, pregnancy leave, what you want to call it. We want to have things like that. And we don't want to move back to sweatshops and that type of labor. Most folks don't. That's not the Democrats selling your jobs to China. That's a better life. We want a better life. We've been working for a better life. Colin Powell was used for the Iraq War, and just thinking about how he lied, and I think he apologized. He felt bad about it. He was manipulated. Whether you want to believe he was manipulated or whether he was just lying about it, that he didn't care, he's manipulated. And I just washed my dish. I was thinking a little while ago about how even after we die, we're still pimped. Colin Powell, man, dead in the ground. He's passed on. He's still being pimped. You're not, a lot of black folks, a lot of black men I've known that I had one tell me he'd join the New World Order if he could. He would join it. And I'm like, dude, you've got kids, man. I used to believe in this. But if it does exist, if there are people that are depopulating the world and all that, you're raising children in that kind of a future? I mean, I don't really want to have kids looking at climate change and what the future looks like. But if I was doing things to create it to make it worse, I certainly wouldn't want to raise any children in that type of reality. That's disturbing, to say the least. Like I said, there's black folks that we're pimped. And even after you pass on, Herman Cain, I spoke on him when he passed, that he had folks talking about it wasn't bad on his social media as he's laying in his deathbed, fighting COVID, dying. Did I feel bad for him? No. He went out there with his bad self and he got it. He had cancer before. He should have known better. But it is disturbing that a person like Herman Cain that ascended the ranks the way he did would be used in such a manner even after he's dead. That's disturbing to me. I say the same thing with Colin Powell. You can't just, and I get it, black conservatism's like we're individuals and that we should take responsibility and pay our debts and raise our kids and be in our kids' lives and not commit crimes and not be, violent. I get it. I was a black conservative. That's the mindset of it. That, like my brother, like business and all that. That's the idea of black conservatism. But that's not really what it is at the extent of it. It's not. It's like talking about a police officer on the beat and comparing that to a deputy chief. They're not the same. Not the same responsibilities. It's a different world when you get up the ranks. And I think Colin Powell, his legacy is lesser as a result. And he spoke out about Trump, but I still feel like, and it's another example of how, because Colin Powell was kind of respectful. Like his whole last couple of years with Trump, dealing with the aftermath of Trump, You see a lot of Republicans that they denounce Trump's actions, and they recognize that like Trump's actions are bad, but they don't really recognize like Trump's bad. Like it's kind of like a parent being like, okay, my kid raped these people. He did this, he did that, but he's still my kid. That's wrong. And that's and I guess the mindset that Trump would just get better, and we're gonna just that's gonna just it's gonna pass away, we'll go back to normal. And I think to see Colin Powell's name put in the mud like that by Donald Trump shows you that no, when you die, you won't be given that same respect. I know people like that. People in the establishment, they're raised a certain way, they operate a certain way, they live a certain way, they raise their kids a certain way, they walk a certain way, they go to a certain kind of church. And that way of life is very competitive, but it's not disrespectful. And I think that maybe they still haven't realized what Trump is, that Trump don't respect nobody. Don't respect nobody. And his people around him, and his this whole morass of trash that he brought in with him, they don't respect anybody. To them, respect is a sort of a weakness. I just wanted to say it from a man that was a black conservative. I was a black conservative. I had Ron Paul's books. I had Freewheeling for Capitalism. Look that up. I bought that book. I had all of that, man. I was looking at buying gold. I was big time conservative. I voted for Ron Paul both times. Both times. I was a big supporter of that. Everything he talked about. And I realize now libertarianism only works for the rich. That if Ron Paul was elected, we'd all be out there digging in mines and stuff. We wouldn't have wars like we have now. It wouldn't be a drug war because you'd be just working your ass off every day. You'd be in the mines. I mean, that's not. I think Ron Paul believed in what he was talking about, and that's the difference between him and Republicans. I do believe him, and I think a lot of libertarians out there, they believe in what they're talking about. That the war on drugs and things like that. That's the black conservative that, like Candace Owens, will go back to this 1980s, 1960s era, and and making homophobic comments, and that's what black conservatism is. And there's also ignorance in it too. I've talked about it before. That my parents own this house, my grandparents own this house. Even though I can't afford to live in the area that's being gentrified, I can't live, and we're having all these storms and stuff. I can't live here anymore. But I'm going to just live in the past and ignore the realities that I should be dealing with. That's to me what that stuff really is. It's ignoring reality and looking into the past for some kind of a glamorous paradise or some type of I don't know. You're looking at a world that wasn't built for you, a society that wasn't built for you, a code of laws and conducts that wasn't built for you. And we're now reaching an era to where people are kind of understanding how and why those things were. Listening to Merrick Garland earlier today talk about going after redlining, it put a smile on my face. Nobody was talking about that back in the day. In fact, when they went before the Supreme Court, the housing covenants, there was several Supreme Court justices that had housing covenants, had to bow out. Because the housing covenant just said that if you bought the house, you couldn't sell it to a black man or a Jew, or I think an Asian or something. That's America's history. It isn't just racism. It isn't just slavery. Nigga, you can't buy this house. You can't live here. We won't let you live in this neighborhood. We're not going to let you get loans to move into this area because you're black. And so if you can't get loans, guess what? You can't grow your business. It isn't just about Bull Connor and fire hoses and dogs. Anyway, I just think the Colin Powell thing is a reminder to black conservatives that you're not respected. You never were. You never will be. And they'll use you and they'll pimp you and then they'll throw you away like yesterday's garbage. Thank you for listening.